Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Celtic Transfer Talk returns today. I'm still, of course, isolating. It's great. Thanks for all the get well messages yesterday on last night's video. But we're here to talk about Celtic and this transfer market. It is dwindling down. There's not long to go. But it doesn't mean that Ange and the team are not going to stop recruiting. There's a new striker in the horizon potentially, and I know we said that about Thomas Henry a couple of weeks ago, but this time it looks as though there's something a bit more formal there. Before we go any further with the video, please make sure to check out the channel sponsors in the top line of the description. OneFootball is the channel sponsor, and the OneFootball app will give you everything you need to know in terms of Celtic and their transfer situations this summer for the remainder of the window. That is, you can also check out live scores, match results worldwide, Europa League, Champions League, Europa Conference League, anything you need all in the one place on this app. It really is the most handy thing you can have in terms of keeping up with football. Use my link in the top line of the description, and here we go. So Celtic have apparently had a bid accepted for a Greek striker, and here we go. This is the fun part. I'd always bang on and on and on about pronunciation and how I like to get it right, but my God Almighty, I'm going to go to McGinley's voice note for a minute.
I just watched a compilation video of his goals, and I think it's Giacomakis.
Giacomakis, is that what it is? Is that what I'm going with? Ryan McGinley tells me it's Georgios Giacomakis. I don't know if that is right, but Celtic have apparently had a bid accepted for the Venlo striker over in Holland, as we have had a bit of a pursuit, it seems, for a striker over the past few weeks, and this looks like it's going to be the one. We were talking about Thomas Henry last week. That didn't happen. He's away to Genk. We've heard talk about Kevin Nisbet from the start of the window. There's been other names that have been linked with the club, but it looks as though Celtic have got their man in the form of the Eredivisie's top scorer last season. Celtic have apparently agreed a €2.5 million fee for the Greek striker, who was apparently on the verge of a move to Werder Bremen over the past couple of days. That fell through. Celtic now favourites to land him. It is all down to a contract situation, it seems. The guy was the top scorer, as I said, in the Eredivisie last season, and we'll come on to that, and we'll come on to the player himself. But Venlo did go down. They were relegated. He was the star man in that team, and it looks as though Celtic want to bring him in. It raises a lot of questions, because right now, of course, we find ourselves in a very decent predicament. I would still like another striker in case Edouard does leave, but this now begs the question, is Edouard ready to depart the club? Have we seen the last of Odsonne Edouard, or are we about to see the last of Odsonne Edouard? Because we've got Kyogo, who's on fine form at the moment. We've got Edouard back and looking a bit better at the moment as well. We've also got Ayeti on the bench. We've got a couple of younger guys there waiting. You know, we're in a decent enough situation, because we're in a situation where I feel like we should be prioritising defenders. So it begs the question, are we about to see Ayeti leave on loan? Are we about to see Odsonne Edouard leave permanently? Are we now preparing ourselves for that sort of moment? Because this is a guy that has got clear quality. If he's the top scorer in the Dutch Eredivisie and he's scoring 27 goals in a season, then there's no way he's coming to Celtic to be, you know, a third or second, maybe even second choice. I think we're going to see a guy who plays a lot of football. Now, I know Kyogo is playing brilliantly at the minute, but I imagine he'll be a guy who plays just as much football. When you're spending €2.5 million and when you're scoring that many goals over in Holland, I feel like he's going to have a heavy involvement in the squad. He was the top scorer last season by 7 goals. He scored 26 in 30 Eredivisie appearances, and he was ahead of the very big, of course, Daniel Malin, who's just moved to Borussia Dortmund for €30 million or such. This is madness. It's a player that's scored a lot of goals. He's made a good name for himself. You know, the sort of feeling of a Henrik Larsson over in Holland before he comes to Celtic. But no, in all seriousness, you know, he's a very active goal scorer. He's someone who's attracted interest all across Europe. I think there was teams in Qatar that were looking at him as well from my reading. He looks like a player who's going to certainly add a lot of quality to that front line, and perhaps that kind of pinpoint accuracy that we've been missing so far. You know, when we need that finisher, don't we? Kyogo's been brilliant, he's been scoring goals, but you think about the chances that have been missed alongside the chances that we've scored with Kyogo. You know, we could have had another 2, 3, 4 a game. And this is a guy who's got clinical penalty box finishing. It's a guy who is just a natural striker, whereas Kyogo kind of floats all along that front line. So, you know, there's a lot of sort of problems being answered with this signing with Celtic, and it makes a lot of sense for us to make that move. Another thing from reading up about the player that I've seen in another way that it suits perfectly for this Ange Postecoglou system is his anticipation of the game, his reading of the game, and his defensive work in the game as well. Apparently very good in duels, quite... I don't want to use the word, he's good in the kind of combat of the game, not throwing punches and laying people out, but in terms of getting in and stuck about it. One thing that we've all loved so far, especially with Kyogo, is that sort of getting in and pressing the opposition, getting their foot in about it and winning possession in the high up areas in the pitch, and it seems like this is another player who sort of buys into that. Also, with his anticipation and reading of the game, you're looking at, once again, another player who can get into areas and press high and source out a situation that Celtic can score a goal from. It seems like all these different things are adding up perfectly and making sense for everything that Ange Postecoglou wants. And ultimately, I said earlier on, I think he's a player who's going to be very involved in the squad, even when it's difficult to get into that squad. I still think he's going to be very involved, but in a different way, because he's so different from what we have. He's not like Kyogo, he's not like Hudson-Odoi, he's not like a Yeti, he's not like Christie, he's not like any of our forwards. He offers something completely different and unique to what Celtic have just now. And that's why I feel like he'll be used quite a lot at Celtic, because even if he's not starting every week, if we choose to start Kyogo, he's definitely going to come on to impact a game at some point, or change the tone and pace of the game, I think, at some point. Kyogo, we know exactly what he gives us, and I think, I don't want to say slows it down, because I don't think he's exactly he's not like a Peter Crouch, 6 foot, 7 foot tall striker who we're just what he lump balls into, but he's certainly not going to bring that same pace Kyogo brings. But it gives us something different to change a game up, and vice versa. Some weeks we might see this guy start, we might see Kyogo come on to change the game. It offers a certain dynamic because it's something completely new to the side. And I just like the thought of getting in a clinical striker. I'm looking for someone who can score. He scored 26 goals in the Eredivisie last season. Now, if he's scoring 26 goals for his team in Holland, who have just been relegated, I feel like that he's certainly going to be able to go and score 26 goals in Scotland. If given the right service, which we've seen our build-up play and such so far this season, if he could give us all the right sort of movements and the right energy levels, he's a guy who can score 26 here if he gets us the right amount of minutes. If he's doing it for a side that went down in Holland, he was ahead of Malin for God's sake. I'm sure he could come over here and do just as well a job. So he's something different for Celtic, and that's the interesting part about it. And I'm glad that we've submitted a bid. I'm glad that a bid's been accepted. I'm hoping the contract talks go well, but it's been very rare of Celtic in recent years to see them go out and just get the bid right from the start. Even with Juranovic just now, we're hearing all this talk about different fees and what people want to offer and this, that, and the next thing. It's nice to just see that this is looking like it could be a done deal. Take it with a pinch of salt. Don't believe everything that you see in the papers, but I'm just here to give my opinion on the player and what he could bring to Celtic. But so far, I'm happy with this bit of business. If it's done, it looks like it could be a right handful for a lot of the teams up here and bring a real sort of, we've got that dynamic already with Kyogo being the wee nippy striker who can get in and about and cause issues, but we've got someone that brings maybe a bit more physicality, but certainly a lot more of a sort of, I don't want to say goal threat, because Kyogo is a goal threat. I'm not saying he's not, but I feel like this is a striker. This is someone that scores goals and is going to score goals when given these opportunities that we make. So, there's my opinion. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.